this was the formation we had on paper under Jose Pesero. He mostly played a 3-4-3. And most times the 3-4-3 was on the ball. Now, off the ball, he played 5 at the back. Then we have Simon and Chukwueze, who were also fluctuating. Then at times we had Murphy. Yeah, though he didn't play much, just little time, second half, towards the quarterfinals and all that. We had Murphy coming in at times for Simeon Lukman. Yeah, so those are the little variations. Going straight to the point now. Counter kind of football or style of football is an addendum, is a step up of possession football. Possession takes short passes, takes time to build, it takes patience. Now for this video, I just want to explain something quickly. I'm using an application that has not really been updated with almost all the players, and even players that have played in the recent years for Nigeria, let's say the last 3 or 4 years. So I'm missing out on the likes of Sanusi. As in the last Nations Cup, he played in I think FC Porto, yes. Then I'm missing out on Ajayi. Ajayi is not here. But in that very competition, that in the AFCON, Ajayi, we had Samuel and we had Awazim. They were fluctuating, in that particular position. They were fluctuating. But we had Trust Ekong, who was at that point in time, he was on a very good form. He was always in the center. And then we had Bassi, who played from the left-hand side as the left center back. We had matches that he played as a left back, but most times he was relegated to that left center back. Then for the sake of this analysis, Malik is Sanusi. Malik is the Sanusi person. And I don't know why the one could actually create players, but for this Nigerian squad, I was not allowed. I don't know why, really. Possession football tries to attract the press. It tries to build from the back and all that. However, the difference between possession and counter is the build-up is beautiful and all that. They could build from the back too, but they do it. They're fast. Or the decisions are fast. They could go long balls on the ground and they could go short balls on the ground, but the movement is always fast. However, long ball counter is trying to go fast, and most times you don't mind going through the air. You go long. Most times the passes go long. Liverpool was a football team that played quick counter. They could play possession, but it was more of counter. Then you had PSG and Arsenal, who could play possession kind of football. Nottingham Forest is another club that plays long ball counter. Now that's the difference. They play quick, but they go on the air. They build before they go on the air. So the Nigeria of Jose Pesero during the AFCON played a long ball counter. If you guys watched very well that period, if they go to the midfield, comes back to the center backs, they go long, they go to the flanks. And why was he able to do this? Why did he employ such tactics? We had an Osimhen who could actually bring these balls down. And that's why then people were complaining that there were no services to Osimhen and all that. Truth be told, in our midfield then, Onyeka and Iwobi were not those kind of players that Iwobi actually did his best. If we want to be honest, Iwobi did his best. But up till date, Nigeria don't have those orchestrators kind of midfielder. The Caicedos, the Vitinhas, the Declan Rice, of this world. We don't have them. Most of our midfielders, I see them as DMs, as sitting midfielders. And even in the DM position, even in that defensive position, they are more of passing the ball back to where the ball is coming from than actually advancing play to penetrate and to break lines. So, if I were him, that's the same pattern I was going to go with. You can't force what you don't have. If there was an Osimhen that could bring down this ball, and there was a Lookman that plays very well as a second striker with Atlanta, why not go long? It's like Mourinho saying, why do you have to pass the ball like a million times when you have a Didier Drogba up the pitch? He told Peter Cech. He said, we have him. Give him the ball. He's going to put it on the chest and he's going to bring it down. Yeah, but we don't have those very good passers from the back who could actually deliver a set piece to Osimhen to the right places. But most times they throw those passes and Osimhen struggles. At the end, he still gets more of the passes. He was always running like he wants to die, like he wants to kill himself. He always gave his all whenever he plays for the Super Eagle. So going straight, Joseph Pesero understood that Sanusi was in top form at that time. And in fact, when Sanusi came for the Nations Cup, Sanusi did not do much. Yes, Sanusi did not do much because at that time, the ball, the kind of football that man was playing at Porto, he was on top form. He underplayed in the Nations Cup. He was very instrumental to how we played because he was overlapping. He will go up the pitch, he will come down, and he's coming back also to defend. That was what he was doing. Then we had Ola Aina on the other hand doing the same thing. He was going up the pitch. Now Jose Pesero was also very much aware how Ola Aina was very instrumental in Nottingham Forest. He was that instrumental. He's so strong defensively, and he also gives that added number when you want him to attack. So he's a proper wing back, and he could play both the left wing back position and he could play the right wing position. Then Lookman played mostly as a 10 in his club. He played mostly as a 10 in his club. And he was very good at using the left hand half space. This place, Lookman was so good at using it. And he knows how to drop deep, okay, into these pockets to actually get passes during build-up. So it was logical, tactically, for him to play what he was playing, the long ball counter. Play these balls long. You play these balls long to Osimhen. Osimhen drops it, then Lookman looks for the second ball. And that was what they did. And it was working, whether we liked it or not. We mustn't... someone must not play that pattern of football that we want. But he was giving us the result. And we had Moses Simon, who was a good dribbler too, who was also there. So it was more of Moses Simon and Lookman not actually stretching out wide. They were mostly in the half spaces. They were like 2 10s. Then we had Sanusi and Aina, okay, going up the pitch. Then Osimhen advances. We had a shape. We didn't play that ball, that kind of possession football a lot of Nigerians wanted. But there was a structure on the pitch. And we had this man sitting, and we had Iwobi at times advancing a little, but him too, he sat deep. And whether we like it or not, he was helping. He was very instrumental in actually getting passes from the back. He got a lot of passes from the back and tried linking it up the pitch. And that was when we saw Lookman dropping, to actually get these balls whenever Iwobi is in possession. And we had Bassi, who could play as a left back, but Bassi was mostly a left centre back. And that was the position we had on the ball. But Iwobi sat mostly deep, and this man was more of a security man. He was doing the dirty jobs. Then we had Trust going long most times to Osimhen. Then we had Lookman and this man coming close for those second balls. And we tried to play behind the defenders to see if we could have shots at goal and chances at goal. That was basically the pattern. Now, why did he opt to go for this particular pattern? It is clear. This man plays like this for his club, and he does it well. Sanusi plays like this for his club, and he does it well. This man plays this exact position for his club as a 10 or a second striker, dropping deep and attacking the half spaces. We had a Boniface who was doing the same in Bayern Leverkusen. Like then, I was of the opinion that Boniface should have been the man that was in this place to actually create a little flair, because Boniface is a possession kind of player. And he could set up nice plays from the attacking third into the 18-yard box for Osimhen to finish. But then the little chances he had, he was a little bit lazy, with due respect. And most times they brought him as a number 9. If I were Joseph Pesero, I won't bring him as a number 9. I won't bring him as a top striker. I'll bring him as a second striker. He was doing that very, very well for Bayern Leverkusen. He would have made a huge difference because he was one who could actually drop into the midfield just like Lookman. So this was basically how we shaped up whenever we are attacking. And most times we go long. That's why I said we played a long ball counter system of play. In the build, when we tried to build, it was Iwobi that was most times dropping deep. And we don't need a soothsayer to tell us that for the past years now, I don't know if there are talents hidden somewhere, but for the past years, he will be amongst the players that are always called to the camp, okay? Amongst the squad. Iwobi is the most creative. He's that player that could go deep and get the ball. And getting the ball, he could turn. Most of the others, with due respect, the likes of Ndidi, even Onyeka himself. I mean, all of them. If they get the ball, they are so scared to turn, and it's not their fault because there are different profile and calibers of players. It's not everybody that could receive the ball from center backs and have that confidence to turn and face the other side of the pitch to give a penetrating pass or to advance. Iwobi doesn't do it like 100%. He's there in between 50 to 60. And I won't blame him. That's not his position. But he tries to do that. You see him in the build up, he's the one coming deep. Then whenever we build and maybe the play goes to him and maybe he takes a turn and maybe decides to go to Aina, the wing back, then most times you see him giving that little support, and that's where Onyeka now becomes like a lone DM. Basically, that was mostly how they were playing. But most times when we needed to receive the ball, you see him always dropping deep to actually go start the play. Then if the ball is back, for instance, like this, and we decide to go long, and let's say this man goes long, he passes to Osimhen. This is where Joseph Peseiro'S tactics actually paid off, and that was his major joke card. That was his major strength. Now the idea is Osimhen was always good aerially. He could contest, for those aerial balls. The idea is it's either when the ball either drops to the right or it drops to the left, and whenever it goes that way, we see Lookman, okay, trying to look for those second balls. Or if Osimhen could bring the ball down, in some cases you see him doing it, bringing those balls down, winning those he was going to win the contest and he's going to win the second balls. He brings it, he connects to either Lookman or to Simon. And the moment he connects to Lookman, we see the likes of Malik getting set here, okay, to go into the ball over here. And the same thing also is applicable in this place. If he gets to Moses Simon could either link to Aina, and if there is a deadlock at the front, he could go back to the likes of Iwobi, who is going to be advancing to this place. So basically, that was just our pattern. We didn't do much in the midfield. Most of our battles were between the trio of Simon, Osimhen, and Lookman. And for whatever reason, it worked. For whatever reason, whatever we want to think, it worked. So this trio were very, very instrumental. They were very instrumental. And we saw the likes of Ola Aina and Malik going up. They were always running the flanks, like I said. They were always running the flanks. And in some matches, Sanusi was being backlashed by Nigerians. Oh, he does this, blah, blah. It's easy for people to cast blame on people because they thought all footballers could actually run up the pitch. And, the absence of Sanusi in the final cost us, whether we like it or not. You don't expect this man to run up the pitch this way and expect him to always have all the energy to also defend. While he tries to come back, that's why we need one of these. So if the ball, for instance, the ball is over here and Malik is over there, this man will always anticipate to always be a cover for this man in case we lose possession. If the ball is over this side of the pitch with Ola Aina, Iwobi, still this man would always come. And Iwobi too will be careful. And what they try to do here is not even to get back possession. At times it's just to cause a delay. Tactical fouls, delays and all that. And the team is going to take back their shape. But no, for most of the time, Nigerians were just wanting to kill this man. Sport commentators, Sanusi was not. But Sanusi was the brainchild behind the wing back attack system. Him and Ola Aina. And that was why in the final, when Ola Aina was not even in his best shape, people were expecting him, to perform miracles and all that. I can't even remember whether he played the final. I'm now forgetting. Yeah, I think he played. Yeah, he played. But he played with an injury, So we couldn't have that force of Aina and this man. Then most times we also see the wingbacks going high up the pitch, and we saw a lot of pullouts from the likes of Ola Aina in that very competition into the 18-yard box. And that's where we saw Osimhen, who had some goals from, scoring a header. And even the second balls, we saw Lookman picking second balls and scoring. We also had Sanusi also doing the same, from this side of the pitch, bringing a lot of pullouts. So it comes from Ola Aina and it also comes from the angle of Sanusi. Whether you, like I would say again, whether we like the pattern or not, the pattern worked. It might not be fancy kind of football that the Arsenal fans, the Man City fans, the PSG fans of this world like, but it worked. There was a clear identity. For most people who don't understand football and tacticals, they might not get the gist. But anybody that understands a little about tactical will know that Josep Pesero came with long ball counter and it worked for him. It worked. And even in the final where we lost, it was because of the same midfield I always complain about. Because the Ivory Coast team have one of the best midfield in that competition. And they could actually play. They could dictate the play. So that was the first time we played against a team that took over the midfield. They pressed us more. And I would still say we went on to miss Sanusi in that very match. Because our game plan was either we go long or we go through the flanks. We take them on counter. And most times we go through long ball counters. We go long and we chase the ball. And before they recover, we've hurt them. That's how we scored most of our goals. It was not this sweet build-up from the centre backs, the midfield, and all that. No, it was long ball counter, and it worked. In the mid third, they employ a mid block, and in our defensive third, we employ a low block. And a low block, it was always 5 like this. And there were times you even see them going as a tree in the middle. Then you find Osimhen and Lookman actually pressing this way. There were times they took this shape. And they were so compact. For me, the Nigerian team was the most compact and the highly defensive team in that tournament. And the moment they get the ball, Lookman begins to go. They go long. If they go long, Osimhen is attacking. And that's why if you go watch it, at times, most of our attacks were 2 or 3. We go and we score a goal. They go long. And before the defense reorganizes itself, Osimhen and Lookman, they're up the pitch. The others begin to go. And most times when they go up, then you begin to see Sanusi go. Then Ola Aina too begins to move. So if you look at the whole setup, it was not too much of a tactics, but it was a coach who understood coaching and did not want to complicate issues. He just replicated the same way these guys were playing in their club. We might not like it that we didn't play much of possession, but match after match, no one, let's be honest, a lot of people, I mean massively, never gave that particular boys an opportunity to even go beyond the group stage, but they did. And they went right up to the final. So in summary, did he do any super magic? No, just basics. The pattern of football people wanted him to play, he was not having those players. And for us to play that pattern of football, our midfield needs to be top. It has to be high class. So in summary, why did Josep Pesero succeed? For me, he succeeded in the Nations Cup. From what we are seeing now with all, before him, after Stephen Keshi, and after Josep Pesero, nobody has beaten his record as trying to put these boys to play structured football. And I'm not talking about possession. Possession is not only the system or style of play, like I've explained earlier. He played long ball counter and he succeeded in it. We might not have gone to win the Nations Cup. That tactical aspect is what a lot of these, with due respect, white coaches have over some of ours. Maybe our own that are good, maybe they're not having the opportunity to actually get the job. Maybe it's our own that are not really, And the present Super Eagles coach, Eric Chell, is good. He's good. I'm rooting for him. But he's making a mistake. He's trying to force a pattern of football that we don't have those players that can play it. Despite the outcry, we're not playing fine, we're not playing possession football. Josep Pesero stuck to his guns. He did not listen to the public outcry. What did he do? He replicated the same patterns and routes that those boys played in their club. He created a formation that fits that same way they played in their individual clubs, as I have explained. So it doesn't take much. At times, what gives result, coaches need to calm down on a lot of these technicalities and this. At times, your work is to manage, especially home coaches who work with countryside. Your work is not as tedious and all that. The only disadvantage is most times you guys don't have a lot of time to actually implement your pattern. And that is why, because you don't have much time to implement your pattern like club side coaches, you have to work smart. You have to make the work easy for you. Don't complicate issues. Result is all that is needed. Results in countryside football is all that matters. Not how you play,